Welcome back to the Wichita Toy Train Club YouTube channel. Behind the camera we have Chris, and I'm Zachariah because I did that backwards this time. Did you catch it? Today we're going to take a look at Lionel's new Legacy 2104 Santa Fe 5011 Texas Class steam locomotive. So you might be thinking, we got a Pennsylvania locomotive, and I just said this was a 5011 class Santa Fe steam engine. So the Santa Fe 5011 class steam locomotive was, well, of course, ordered by Santa Fe AT&SF about 1944. So it was a very modern steam locomotive. They think they ordered 25, and they probably used them all the way up until the end of steam. Of course, you can find all this fun stuff with the quick, fun little Google search. You go to everybody's favorite information site there for that. But the reason why we have a Pennsylvania version is Lionel, again, of course, naturally cataloged a slew of locomotives. And along with that was a quote-unquote fantasy paint scheme, and that was in the Pennsylvania scheme. It was really a what-if. Pennsylvania, I believe, borrowed 12 of Santa Fe's 5011 class steam locomotives to help haul some freight over probably a specific, I think the Lionel catalog tells you specifically where they used it, but that's okay. You can go look for that. But they had borrowed them for a while, so if they had held on to them, maybe they might have painted them up in a Pennsylvania scheme. So that's what we got here is, what if steam hanged on a little longer and Pennsylvania painted them up to be their own locomotive. So this locomotive, of course, is a legacy locomotive, so it comes with all the standard legacy features. We have our main stack, whistle steam smoke, of course, all LED lighting, so LED headlight, bi-color classification lights, the cab light, and the cab, of course, that shuts off when you start moving, flickering firebox, and then your backup light. So as far as control, this locomotive is going to be, of course, again, like I said earlier, standard legacy features. So legacy control system, TMCC, Line Chief app, Line Chief Universal remote. There's like 5 or 6 different ways to run stuff now. But that's a little contrary to what this thing used to be able to run with. This is actually MTH tooling, so this was originally designed to be ran via DCS. So I don't know if Lionel's still using the MTH factory or if it's all been moved over to a Lionel partner factory now. But it's all equipped with all the legacy features. We have the Lionel wireless drawbar, not the MTH wireless drawbar. Of course, that's how we get whistle steam, is Lionel's added whistle steam. And they've made a couple other small modifications. That way it actually matches with their normal product line. But if you didn't know it, at one point in time it could have came out of a purple box. It looks just fine coming out of an orange one. Let's go in for a closer look. Starting at the front of the locomotive here, this looks like any good quality MTH or Lionel locomotive. We have a separately applied front coupler. It comes with a dummy O-gauge front coupler, so that way you can double head the locomotive. We have a really nice looking front pilot section up here. We have an air hose there. That looks really nice. We have some shields for the air compressors, some other add-on detail. The whole front of the smoke box looks really good. The color looks good. We have the bi-color number boards, marker lights. I couldn't think what those are called. Go figure. But those are, they'll turn either green or white, and you can only control that from the cab 2. You could probably control that from the cab 3, cab 3 app, sorry, whenever that comes out, but currently the only way to control that is with the cab 2. We have an LED headlight right up front here. We have a nice number board, I guess that's what you would want to call it, number board below the headlight there, and I'm pretty sure that's just a stamped brass. And then we have a shiny bell up here. They must have just polished it, so it's kind of stiff, which is okay. I can't remember if Santa Fe's bells would actually ring up front or not. But anyway. Moving on, the front of the smoke box does open. Whoop-de-doo. You can see your big DSMK smoke unit on the inside there. The other thing, we do have our handrails here. Do be sure to keep an eye on those, as those are going to be the antenna for the legacy electronics inside the locomotive. And one other thing I wanted to point out is the number boards up top here. Those are illuminated. They're actually kind of hard to see, but they're illuminated immediately when track power comes on. Moving back, we have all of our fun running gear down here. All this stuff looks great. Of course, all this stuff does move when the locomotive's in operation. I usually like to hit a little bit of oil on all the moving parts and all of this stuff. Right up here, we do have our Baldwin's number plate on the side of the smoke box. Our walkway here does not have any portholes or safety tread. It's just a smooth walkway, nothing bad there. Moving down, we do have our reverse gear stuff, some additional piping and so forth that's been added on underneath the walkway here. We do have a throttle linkage up top and a number of other molded in details all along the side of the boiler. Moving back, we do have our firebox area. This, I guess I should have mentioned, all of this, it may come up black. This is actually all a Brunswick, Pennsy green. The only black is our drivers and the trailing truck. This is all the very dark Pennsy green. So it's really trying to be Pennsy here. We do have a nice crisp 6510 underneath the cab windows here. So that looks very nice and good Pennsy font. Some more additional added on piping. A number, again, molded in details and so forth, but everything on here does look very nice. Moving back on top of the smoke box here, we have our main stack. Again, there's those number boards, our superheater, feed water heater. I can't remember what the box is, but it's a box, the molded in box. That's what it is. Moving back, of course, we do have our separately applied whistle detail here, and there is a hole back here for our whistle steam smoke effect. Do not pour smoke fluid down that hole. We have a dual smoke unit, so we're going to just fill fluid directly down the stack, and that will supply fluid for both the main stack and the whistle. A surprise to me when I found out we were going to be able to show this locomotive is it actually does have the interchangeable stacks. I don't remember if MTH had that option or if Lionel adjusted it and used some of their stacks from the 3751 class tooling. But they are interchangeable. So there's the main stack that pulls right out. It's got a fun little rubber O-ring on it. And we could have a Pennsy locomotive with the extended stack because that looks right, doesn't it? Or we could pull that one off, and we could end up with our Pennsy locomotive with a bonnet stack. Because again, doesn't that just look amazing? Moving back on the top of the locomotive here, we do have some more separately applied pipes and so forth here. We have our big sand dome. We have a steam dome hiding on back here, but I guess the real star up here is the sand dome. Sand dome, we do have the 6510 numbering on the side of the sand dome, so that looks nice. Of course, molded in hatches up top here, and this is removable. Lionel used some crazy strong magnets, so that's kind of a pain to get off sometimes. They do have a little notch right back here if you have a fingernail. I don't have fingernails, but there's a little notch. You can get in there and get that opened up, and that gives you access to all the switches that control the locomotive. Right up off the top here, we have our run program switch, our Bluetooth on-off switch, our main smoke on-off switch, and our whistle on-off switch. So this would be one thing that Lionel would have had to adjust in the tooling from the actual MTH tooling. Moving back, there's the steam dome again. We do have some steam lines that run back here to the turret. I don't know what Santa Fe used those for, but they're there on the locomotive. There's our molded in pop-off valves. Those look nice. Some more molded in details. There is our dynamo. That's right there. We're up there where it belongs. We have some molded in detailing hatches for the steam turret up top. And then we have our cab roof. Of course, our cab roof and our tender deck roof are different colors. That is actually how that's supposed to look. Lionel's done the research behind that, and well, you can talk to them if you're curious as to why. I'm not a Pennsy guy, so I can't answer it very well. I know one of them is supposed to be a red or a rust color. I can't remember which one, and the other one's supposed to be freight car, in 3 parts freight car and 1 part black, and so that nobody really knows what freight car was supposed to be. I don't know, something along those lines. Again, if you want the truth from the horse's mouth, go. Brian from Lionel's got stuff, and he's talked about it a number of times with catalog shows. Anyway, but we do have the nice, Pennsy roof, and the hatches do open. And there's that one open there. This one, it's been tough. I don't feel like forcing it any more than what I've tried to push on it. So only this one opens really, but they are supposed to open, and it's it's a standard cab roof. Looking in the cab now, it's your standard cab. There's a lot of molded in details. They did paint the gauges, and I think there might be a red valve or two in there. So it does look pretty nice. We do have our flickering firebox inside there, so that of course looks very nice. We have a cab light in there that will turn on whenever the locomotive stopped, and it turns off when the locomotive starts moving. On the side here, Chris pointed out, we do have some really actually kind of nice cab curtains here. So that's a really cool added on feature that was probably included with the tooling. Moving down, we have probably some auger tooling, some other molded in stuff. We actually have some little handrails there, isn't that funny? And then we have the Lionel's infrared wireless drawbar. So this is the infrared LED, and that sends out infrared information to the tender. Looking at the front of the tender now, not a whole lot going on here. A bunch of molded in details and stuff. There is a legible plaque at the top. I think it says coal's not supposed to be filled above the collar. Basically, don't overfill the coal bunker, people. Go figure. Anyway, moving down, we do have the tender end of the Lionel wireless drawbar. And I was, again, pleasantly surprised they added the kinematic drawbar only to the tender, not the engine, just the tender. But so we do have our little, it doesn't really move very far, so something tells me this doesn't add a whole heck of a lot to the actual coupling between the engine and the tender. But you know what? I always enjoy Lionel's innovation and effort. And the kinematic drawbar, I personally think, has always worked way better than what they've added to the cars. I mean, I got the UP Excursion cars, those things, the springs are too weak. They cause some problems. So, but what they add on the tenders, I've never seen an issue with them. Chris has had one on his S3 for years now, and I don't think really ever had a problem with it. So that's always good to see their addition of the kinematic drawbar, because I think that's a really, whether or not it adds a whole lot, I don't know, but I love their innovation. Moving down the side, again, the tender is the very nice dark Brunswick green. So this is not black. It looks, it's kind of trippy. I'm convinced it's black, but then it's Pennsylvania, so it's a very dark green. A beautiful Pennsylvania ran down the side here. I'm not really sure where the Pennsylvania begins and the Santa Fe ends. It's just, it's a little confusing. Santa Fe tender, that's very Pennsylvania. But anyway, we have some very decent truck side frames down here. We have 3-axle trucks on here. They look great, and a bunch of rivets. So rivet counter, start counting. Let me know down in the comments below if this thing's got enough rivets. Anyway, looking at the back of the tender now, we do have an electric coupler right up front. This is the business end of the locomotive here. We got our electric coupler. This can be fired from the Legacy remote, TMCC remote, Universal remote, Line Chief app, Cab 3 app if it ever comes out, so on and so forth. Moving up, we do have a coupler cut bar, separately applied coupler cut bar. I can't figure out, is this thing sprung or is it just bent just right? It springs itself back down somehow, and I am confused. If anybody else has one of these and it does that, please let me know, because I see no spring and I'm confused. Moving up, we do have a beautiful looking ladder here. We have some grab irons, our backup light. This does, of course, illuminate when you put the locomotive into reverse. We have our little steps here. Those are added on each side, so that way you can get up on the tender. We have handrails on either side along with that. And that is the back of the tender. Moving up, we have our tender deck. This tender is, well, it's a tender, go figure. We do have our nice separately applied handrails up here. These don't do anything, so you can beat them up if you want. Or if you want it to look nice, I'd suggest you don't beat them up. But anyway, they're not an antenna or anything. But we do have that red deck here. This is, again, a slightly different color that's on the top of the cab, and that is prototypically correct. Again, you can go bug Ryan at Lionel if you really want to know why. The tender hatches do open. They were a little stiff at first. I think the paint was stuck on them some, but they do open. There's nothing on the inside because we no longer have a master volume pot or any controls in the tender with the new Legacy electronics. Moving to the coal load, we do have a separately applied coal load. I'm sure this is real coal because that's what everybody's always used, but it is extremely shiny. I don't know why. I don't hit it with a gloss coat. It's shiny. I don't know why. But other than that, it's your standard real coal load, and it does, minus the shiny, look great. Looking on the bottom of the locomotive here, we do have, well, a bunch of wheels, go figure. The front truck here, of course we got a front truck. We make sure, when you get something new, go through oil all your moving parts. So we got anywhere where that metal axle goes through the metal frame there. We have 3 center rail pickup rollers for good electrical contact. I always usually put a little dab on one side of the rollers. Keep them from squeaking because that gets annoying. That or they get stuck and then they wear funny and, well, then it just gets worse. But anyway, again, metal axle goes through the frame. I always get a needle point applicator, shoot some oil down in there, just a little drop, it'll do you. This axle here is actually the axle that's driven from the motor inside the model. And a good note from the MTH tooling, Lionel has made a back drivable gearbox. So after you oil it, you could actually spin the wheels, and that's perfectly okay for the gearing and for the motor. Moving back, same thing with the trailing truck. We can hit where those needle point ends of the axles go into the bronze bushings. And other than that, there's not a whole lot going on down here. We do have our Bluetooth legal crap, although all the rest of the FCC mumbo jumbo is underneath the cab awning. And we'll give you guys a close-up shot here in a little bit. But all the way back here, there is actually no evidence of MTH electric trains. We do only have a Lionel LLC and then a Lionel registered trademark back here. There is a couple of spots where you can kind of see where there used to be a switch on the bottom of the locomotive. But other than that, that's what we got down here. Looking at the bottom of the tender now, this is it's a Lionel tender now. So we do have our, again, three axle trucks. Again, anywhere where those needle point axles go into the bronze bushings, little drop of oil, always good, a little drop of oil on our center rail pickup rollers, so that way those don't squeak. Again, this is the newer legacy electronics, so there's no provision to add a battery if your sound cuts out. You just get to enjoy the sound cutting out when you go over a switch. So I really can't help you there. We can see down here our kinematic drawbar on the tender. That's what that looks like on the bottom side. Our coupler, we have a fairly long coupler shank. This, of course, is going to be our Lionel equipped electro coupler rather than the MTH proto coupler. Those are 2 different couplers. And there is included with the locomotive a KD box for the mounting box for a KD coupler if you want to go scale coupler. And as I'm turning this, you guys probably can't see it, but there is a stamped Lionel LLC underneath this truck here. We do have a brake cylinder, some other added on deals, and we do have 2 speakers for the sound system. Okay, we're over here at the layout. We got us a coal train behind the locomotive with a Pennsy caboose. Forgive us, we don't have any Pennsy cars. I don't know why. So it's going to pull Rio Grande. That's okay. Let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and kick on track power and see what it sounds like. I guess real quick, one thing we did before the sound gets to the point where you can't hear me, we did notice that there is no ashpan glow. So, and I think that's because it's a Santa Fe tooling with that would originally had an oil tender. So this, I don't know whose tender. Then I realized later on, I don't know whose tender this is. I don't know if that's a Santa Fe tender, a Pennsy tender. They did some coal-fired KCS locomotives as well in the same tooling, so I don't know where the tender came from. But anyway, if you don't see the variable ashpan glow, that's because it's probably because the locomotive was Santa Fe based and it was originally coal-fired, or oil-fired, sorry. Kick on track power. Track power is on. It might be hard to see, but our number boards up top here are now illuminated. And we'll do our extended startup.
This is the tower. Make it pull to the pit to top her off. Over. Okay, let's get to work. Out.
And I think I actually have it turned down a little bit, so we'll turn it up just a hair. A little easier for you guys to hear. There we go. Go ahead and get our smoke going. Up front here, we do have our front headlight. I don't know if anybody's ever noticed, but it does have Rule 17 lighting, so that's just whenever it stops, or technically whenever there's an oncoming train, they dim the light so you don't blind the other engineer. But Lionel sets it up to where anytime it stops, it dims the light. So you can actually turn that off and see there's our bright headlight, or there's our dimmed headlight, and it'll automatically get brighter again when we start going. Kind of a fun note. We can go ahead and change our class lights or marker lights to white if we want. We'll do that from our cab 2 remote, or back to green. We do have a little bit of smoke out of the stack. You guys will probably be able to see that a little better once we start moving. Let's go ahead and give the whistle a listen. So that's one whistle. I don't think that was the default. The only way I know to find the default is to go back in the app, the Line Chief app, and then set the pitch level at the center. I think it's the easiest way to find the actual default. So there's that one. There's number 2. Get a little louder here. Number 3. There was number 4. And because they couldn't resist, we have a Banshee. And I actually think this was the default on the Pennsy locomotive. So that's what everybody gets listed to, is a Banshee on a big Santa Fe locomotive. And we can go back to our original. You can change bell pitches too, of course. Listen to the bell. There's our bell. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there's back to the original. Other than that, everything else is pretty standard with our new stuff. If we have if we hit the 7 key, we get kind of the new different crew talk dialogue.
It's gonna be running along if we don't move on soon. Gonna be here a while. Timetable has us holding here for number 9. She's running about 20 minutes late. Timetable only gives us 10 minutes for this stop. I'll tend the fire. Don't jump off the stake.
So we get some fun, cool sounds from that. Of course, the 2 key gives us our standard generic crew talk.
My call's full. Out.
And we'll go ahead and fill up our water.
My water's full. Out.
We can fill up the coal by pressing and holding the 0.
My call's full. Out.
We'll go ahead and put it in sequence mode, and we'll take it for a spin around the layout. Hopefully you guys will be able to see the smoke a little better once we get moving.
Engine to dispatcher. Train is moving. Over. Have a safe run. Out.
Okay, so you guys saw this thing just runs and sounds great. The Locomotive, well, you know, it runs great, smokes great. It's a really interesting addition to have a MTH tool locomotive that's got Lionel sounds that comes out of it with Lionel smoke features. You know, and then with the paint scheme's kind of different for a 5011 class steam locomotive. Chris, do you have anything else to add?
I mean, the only things I've got to add, I'll agree with you. It's an interesting paint scheme. It's a little odd, it's a Santa Fe style engine, so it's a little odd seeing it in the Pennsy paint. But it's very interesting. It's cool seeing that it's MTH tooling, but Lionel's done it up their way. My only two things that I just can't get off of to me the bell is it's just chrome, bright chrome, shiny. It's a little bright. It needs a dull coat. But the other thing that I can't get over is the coal load is just shinier than diamonds.
Yeah, I don't know what is going on with that coal load.
So maybe we ought to get a spray can of dull coat and tone that down a bit. But otherwise, I mean, generally, it's a really nice, attractive looking engine.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't know what's with that coal load. It's different. I don't, Lionel's always done, pretty sure MTH has always done too, real coal loads. So I don't know if they just accidentally put a gloss coat on the coal or what. But you know what? That means that these locomotives are just great candidates for you to go and weather.
Exactly. We always love weathering.
So this locomotive was cataloged in Lionel's 2022 Volume 1 catalog, or the Big Book catalog that wasn't really a big book. But the locomotive was cataloged at the beginning of 2022. I'm pretty sure these things started showing up late 2022, possibly early 2023. The locomotive has a minimum curve of 072. I've heard some people actually be able to push that to 060. Possibly, I don't think it was 054. I think 060. But I could be wrong. Your mileage may vary. With an MSRP of $1,700, $1,750 to be exact. Of course, you get a pretty decent discount if you go through any good Lionel dealer. This concludes our review of Lionel's new 5011 class Legacy steam locomotive. Be sure to give us a thumbs up if you liked the video. Go down, comment, let us know what you thought of the locomotive or what you didn't care for the Pennsy paint scheme, either or. Be sure, if you're looking for one of these, like I said, these were just released, so you might be able to still find one. But still, don't forget, if you haven't already, to subscribe and hit the bell. And actually, I think you have to turn on the notifications now or something weird different with YouTube. It's insane. Either way, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell, and turn on the notifications. That way you get all the notifications whenever we post a product review, running train video, layout update video, catalog video, I don't know, whatever we decide to come up with. Make sure you do all that, and just let us know what you guys think down in the comments below. You can check us out on Facebook. Every now and again there's some more information on any upcoming local train shows to us that we may be attending. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.